This weekend will be filled with reminders of what happened to America on September 11th, 2001. But amidst all the ceremonies, interviews, and TV programs that will remind us of where we were when our nation was attacked, Ed Berliner thinks that we as a nation should focus on one word, a word that would truly honor those who lost their lives and those who live on, recalling the terrible events of that day.
I can hear you, the rest of the world hears you, and the people who knocked these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
As a native New Yorker, September 11th is always one of the very tough days to face. And you would think that 15 years after watching the towers fall, it would get a little easier and less emotional because, after all, time may not heal all wounds. It does, as we get older, make the memories a little fuzzier. But there is one word that, to me and so many others I have spoken with personally and watched in various tributes, never fades. That word is unity.
After 9/11, I saw a closeness with people that I'd never seen before.
When Maria Medrano Neal's foster daughter watched the towers fall, she knew she would re-enlist in the National Guard. 3 years after that decision, she was killed by a roadside bomb in Iraq.
That you really don't even realize what's going on after that time until the casket is brought home. And then reality really hits you that she's really gone.
There was a palpable unity across America in the days that followed. Tell me you didn't feel it. Try to say you didn't experience it in some fashion. We were a nation united, a people united. A common cause was forged, not simply one of revenge, but of resolve, of shared experiences, and a desire to make a better world. It was what we all said we wanted and would ensure came to pass.
Unfortunately, the country is less united. I wish it were different. I wish that we truly remembered, like we said, we would never forget.
We have forgotten, and now we must charge ourselves with remembering again and honoring those who lost their lives on that day and subsequent days by seeking to make the word unity really mean something on 9/11 and every day. Telling it like it is. Back to you, J.D.
Thanks very much, Ed. Joining us now via Skype from New York, former New York City Police Commissioner Bernie Kerik, who served as commissioner on that fateful 9/11. Bernie also served in Iraq as the interim interior minister there, and he's the former senior policy advisor to the U.S. envoy to Iraq, in addition to being the author of the book From Jailer to Jailed. Bernie, we thank you on this very special remembrance edition of Newsmax Prime. And in the here and now, according to a poll conducted by Fox News, people feel less safe today than they did before 9/11/2001 by large margins. Let's take a look at this polling. When you look at September of 2013, a majority of Americans felt safer, but now, in September of 2016, 54% of Americans feel less safe. Do you agree with that majority?
Well, I can't say I agree with the majority. I think I understand why they feel less safe. I think we're honestly in a better position today than we were on September 10th of 2001 when it comes to intelligence, when it comes to knowing an enemy that we never realized before, that we didn't understand before. I think we're in much better shape there. But I think the reason that people feel that we're just not safe at all is because there's no real strategy to combat this enemy. There's no real effort by the White House, by this administration, to go after the enemy the way it should be done.
And Bernie, in addition to the global politics of it, looking back at what happened on that day now almost 15 years ago is intensely personal. Ari Fleischer, who at one point served as press secretary to the Ways and Means Committee on which I served, of course, was serving as the White House press secretary. And he offers this very personal glimpse at what happened on 9/11/2001.
Being next to the commander-in-chief when he says we're at war, and he says it to the vice president, he says it to the secretary of defense, and you know what America will be doing next as a result. That just sent a chill down my spine.
Bernie, you were there in the middle of it in New York City. What memories do you have specifically? When did you know that for all intents and purposes, we were at war?
You know what, JD? Honestly, I've never really thought about this until you just ran that clip. I knew we were at war before President Bush said it. He made that statement based on the information he was given when the second tower was hit. I was standing under and in front of Tower 2 when that second aircraft slammed through the north side of the tower and showered down on top of me and my people that was with me. I knew at that point we were under attack. And then I was actually, locked down in an office with Mayor Giuliani when he was on the phone with the White House, and the vice president was supposed to come to the line, and somebody else got on the phone and told him that the White House was being evacuated and they think that the Pentagon had just gotten hit. I knew for sure we were at war. And as Ari said, it sends something down your spine. Well, listen, I know the feeling.
Today on Capitol Hill, members of Congress gathered on the East Front and observed the 9/11 anniversary. House Speaker Paul Ryan talked about the generational difference, about the children of today. Can they possibly come to understand the significance of what transpired on September 11th, 2001? Here is the Speaker of the House.
Do they fully understand what happened that day? Will they ever? Can they? They can watch the old footage. They can see the clips of the towers falling. They can hear the great roar as a landmark comes crashing down, and with it, an era. Can they actually feel it?
Bernie, how do we best educate those who have followed a generation born now after 9/11?
You know what, JD? I have a 16-year-old daughter and a 13-year-old daughter. My 13-year-old wasn't even born then, but she lives in my house. She has had to live with this aftermath since she was a child, the baby. She probably knows more about 9/11 than most adults, many adults. At the end of the day, I think education is extremely important. As you know, the longer we have gone away from September 11th, the less vigilant we have gotten. Complacency takes effect. People, they don't want to hear it. They want to put it behind them. The reality is, if you're not focused on it and you're not vigilant and you let these things go by the wayside and don't pay attention and focus on it, it's going to come back to bite you. The enemy that we face has enormous patience. We have none. We have zero. And I think that's going to hurt us. So we've got to educate our youth. We've got to let them know what it was like, what happened, stop the political correctness. I've had people come to me and say, we shouldn't put this stuff on television. Oh, really? Really? Is that what you think? I don't agree with that. I think that every American should know the death and the devastation and what happened on that day, because if we don't address it, it's going to happen again.
Bernie, you mentioned the word complacency, but there's another word perhaps too mild, and it is curiosity. Curiosity about a new report appearing today. We have heard about $400 million in ransom to the Iranians, perhaps another $1 billion, but now there is new evidence suggesting that in addition to all that money over the years, from 2014 to 2016, the Obama administration may have paid Iran as much as $33.6 billion. Bernie, a minute left for your reaction to that report in the here and now.
You know what, JD? I can't even explain. I have no answers. There's no logic to that report. There's no justification for giving the Iranians anything. I disagreed with the this settlement that the White House did. Iran is not our friend. They haven't been. They want to blow Israel off the map. They want the demise of Christianity, the leaders there. you know, why we're in this position, why we have these questions as to, you know, how much and what we paid and why we paid it. I just think it's bizarre.
It is bizarre. It is inexplicable. Bottom line, Bernie, it is dangerous. Bernard Kerik, tonight from New York, with memories of 9/11 and a warning for the future. Bernie, as always, we appreciate your time.
Thanks, JD.
Now, as this special edition of Newsmax Prime continues, what happened to the famous flag that flew over Ground Zero? It had been lost, but now it's been found. That remarkable story next.